Greetings viewers and welcome back to Just Short of Fantastic. I am excited because today we're talking about Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, the highly anticipated, much talked about reboot movie of the Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers TV show of the 1989 and 90 television season. Oh my gosh, let's get into it. Okay, so this movie is an absolute riot. It is a wild ride that I highly recommend. I thought it was just for, people my age who remember the original show, but my coworker showed it to her 6-year-old daughter and she was just enraptured. So I guess it is a family movie. I guess there are a lot of weird choices that I feel only like adult movie watchers and fans will really appreciate, but I don't want to gatekeep. This movie is for everybody. It's for everybody. Everybody will get something joyous out of it. However, it does fall apart pretty quickly when you think about it too hard, which I did, obviously. There are at least 2 narratives at work in this movie. Obviously, there is the plot, which falls apart under even the lightest of scrutinies. And there is the emotional journey undertaken by our 2 titled protagonists, Chip and Dale, as they have to navigate a 30-year gap in their relationship and find their way back to each other. And that is really what the movie is about anyway, so I'm very pleased that that holds up and delivers. These are my thoughts after seeing Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2 times. This movie feels like it's come straight out of left field, and I didn't always like it, but gosh darn, I respect it. This movie is surprisingly heartfelt and sentimental, and it was nothing I expected. So let's get into it. Spoilers? Spoilers. To break down all of my thoughts and feelings about this movie, I have organized them into the following categories: the best, the bizarre, and the bewildering. Obviously, there's some overlap between those because nobody's perfect. Rescue Rangers away. The best. This movie is a love letter to animation and movies and reboots and remakes and sequels and meta culture and our weird relationship to all of those things. And if this movie has multiple narratives going on in it, then that one is definitely the 3rd one. Watch this movie for all of the visual references. The Dobby one is fast, but it is by far my favorite. But the primary narrative, the story at the heart of this movie, is one about male friendship, and I hope that you watched my previous video on the original TV show because we are getting into it. Something I wondered about this movie was if they were going to walk back the abusive relationship between Chip and Dale that was present in the TV show, and the answer is kind of. It walks back definitely the abuse from Chip, but not the violence towards Dale. I'll address that part specifically in the bewildering section, so just wait. This movie takes us back to when they first meet in the 3rd grade and the relationship that sparks out of both of them being alone but also craving attention. And it reveals to us a critical moment of misunderstanding. At the height of the TV show's popularity, at the height of their acting success, there is a moment where they do not communicate their needs and their emotions to each other. And this is the reason behind their 30-year falling out. Basically, Dale gets a pilot for his own show without Chip, and he tells Chip this news, and Chip is surprised, and he thinks that it's going to break up the Rescue Rangers, which it kind of does, but not really. We find out later that Dale told Chip about this pilot because he secretly wanted Chip to tell him that he needed Dale. But Chip has always been the less outgoing of the 2, and he's always secretly envied Dale's easy affability and his ability and willingness to take risks, and he mistakes Dale's pilot for Dale wanting to get out from under Chip's shadow because the dynamic of the Rescue Rangers is that Chip is the popular one and Dale is the dumb one, and we'll come back to that later. And this is of course a shadow that Chip doesn't realize that he's casting because for the first time he feels as though he's getting the adoration that he's always secretly wanted because he's not outgoing. or willing to take a lot of risks without Dale. So he's really enjoying his moment of being the popular one within the Rescue Rangers dynamic. But he also is very careful to be like, I never wanted to do this without Dale. Everybody everywhere take note. Communicate your needs and your feelings to your friends, especially your closest friends, so you don't hold a grudge for 30 years and lose the people you love most, and consequently your own sense of self. There's also an argument to be made here about the dynamic of partnerships and what it does to the individual parts of that partnership, but that's a completely different movie. And on that note, this movie hits hard at Chip being the popular one and Dale being the dumb one. It's almost as if those are problematic archetypes or something. It was the 90s. There's a line in the movie and it comes up 4 times. It is, the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. And this could almost be the tagline for the movie because honestly, I can't believe Disney greenlit this movie to be made. And then it actually got made and released on Disney+. I honestly cannot believe that this is a thing that exists. And I love it and I respect it. But wow, it was a risk. Let's talk the bizarre. So there's a part where Chip and Dale go to Main Street to find some information about their missing friend. I'll give you 2 hints as to who that is. As a Magic Kingdom Disneyland aficionado, I highly enjoyed this. But as they're walking down Main Street, Dale is explaining the gritty underworld to Chip. I loved it, but also, yeah, let's talk about huge risks. So apparently Dale knows all about this gritty underworld because he sells his fur to a wig shop. So many questions. Who is buying CGI chipmunk fur wigs? Anyway, we're getting off topic. Something that I just personally found bizarre was that Gadget has like 12 lines of dialogue in this movie, and most of them are about other characters. I guess that's not really bizarre, but I felt like I should bring it up here, and we're going to talk about her more in the bewildering section. Like I said, there's some overlap. Speaking of Gadget, kind of segue, I feel that this movie, it's going for comedic, and honestly, I think this movie would have been funnier, especially to adult fans, if they'd kept the original voices for Chip and Dale. Something about, like, high-pitched, squeaky chipmunk voices talking about adult problems just strikes me as hilarious, and I don't know why they made the choices they did. That's a lie. I know why they made the choices they did, but I still think it would be hilarious with the original voices. Okay, something else that is really truly bizarre to me is that in the movie, during the flashback part when they're talking about the filming of the Rescue Rangers, so in the movie they've took some creative license with the history of the original show, and what they show filming of this fictional episode that is not in the series, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Like the way the Rescue Rangers deal with the villain and how it all wraps up at the end. I'm like, the show is not like that. Why are you showing the show like that? Why are you doing that? That's not how the show was. Because it took all of the compassion and cleverness out of the show, and for anyone who hasn't seen the show, younger viewers who want to get into Chip and Dale and like go back and watch it, like, the show was smarter than that. And for someone who is trying to take that show and make a love letter about it, I don't understand why you would make these choices to not show how smart the show was. And the other thing I have that was bizarre is when they wrapped filming, they showed all of the main characters gathered around a cake and being like, hey, thanks for making another episode of the Rescue Rangers. It was a great show. Good job, everybody. Where is Fat Cat? Fat Cat is their primary antagonist, and he was in that fictional episode that they just finished filming, and I don't understand why is he not at the wrap party? And we all know that villains are just as important to a story's success or failure as the heroes are. And I want to know why Fat Cat was not at that wrap party. He deserves to be there. Fat Cat representation. But this brings us to our final category, The bewildering. Are animated villains just villainous all the time? Like, when they're not on set, where do they go? What do they do with their downtime? Do they just, like, hang out together being villainous? Or are they just, like, normal, cool people? Like, I have so many questions. Clearly, if you watch the movies, good guys can go bad, so can bad guys go good? Another thing, Flounder. How does Flounder even have a house and not like a fishbowl? Okay, so those little birdies that go around an animated character's head when they're in pain, like, are they just on call all the time? Is it a legitimate career choice? How does one get paid in that gig? I have so many questions. So, Ugly Sonic. Completely unexpected, amazing, but his appearance does lead credence to the idea that once rendered, an animated character never dies. I have a lot of questions about that. And what are the rules about animated characters and aging? Why did Peter Pan have to grow up, and yet we catch up with other characters and they have not aged in decades? Okay, so let's unpin that pin about walking back the violence, sort of, in the TV show. So this movie takes creative license with the TV show and the history of the TV show, and one of them is that each week Dale got hit in the head with a pipe. So the abusive behavior between Chip and Dale was just a part of the show and part of Dale's character as the comic relief, and they're sort of making a comment on cartoon violence, but not really. I'm not happy about them glossing over Chip's abusive behavior, but I didn't really expect Disney to address it. And last but not least, Gadget and Zipper. Oh boy, I am a little bewildered because the whole through line about taking risks sort of backfires when you have this great character and you do nothing with her. Like, she basically functions beat for beat as she functions in the original TV show. She's an inventor and a pilot. And that's it. Except for the fact that she married Zipper, her co-star, and they now have 42 mouse-fly hybrid babies. I don't like it, but I gosh darn respect it. So Gadget is woefully underused, and as a fan of the original show and the whole found family message, I feel a little dissatisfied. If I ever put a pin in, we'll unpin that about Zipper. So apparently Monty and Gadget were the only two actors in the original show who used their real voices, and Chip, Dale, and Zipper all put on character voices. It's a choice. I don't like it, but I respect it. So Zipper in real life is voiced by Dennis Haysbert, and it is honestly glorious. That is a choice that worked out 100%. Love it. And another bewildering question I have is, why is Lumiere even at FanCon? Why not the original animated LeFou? That way you could have done a whole bunch of Josh Gad and or Beauty and the Beast live action remake related jokes, but I guess that was just too risky for Disney. Honestly, when I start to think about it, there are 100 different ways this movie could have gone, and each one is even more delightful than the last. I'm still holding out for a fabulously gay fat cat who is just over the moon when his old co-stars come and ask for his help during a real-life mission. That is the movie I wanted this movie to be. But alas, we wait. That's what fanfiction is for, I guess. Although now our movies are basically fanfiction. It's a weird world that we live in now. And yes, Chip is still, for lack of a better word to use in the discourse, toxic. They've given him more depth. I love that the movie is narrated from Dale's point of view, which gives him more depth and makes him more of an actual person and less of a joke. But I hate the deployment of this oft-used trope for male characters, the I can't tell you I love you until you're dying or dead. But I guess if that's what it takes to move forward, I just hope that our new cycle of pop culture can normalize open, honest, and vulnerable male friendships. Please and thank you. Those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, because I really enjoyed making it, and I honestly really enjoyed this movie. It wasn't as laugh out loud funny as I was expecting it to be, but it was oddly cathartic, and it gave me a lot to think about. which is 2 of the things that a good piece of art should do. So good job, Rescue Rangers Reboot. I'm happy you exist, even if you gave me even more existential dread about animated characters. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're having a great June. Until next time, stay just short of fantastic. I can't wait for the neo-noir Darkwing Duck reboot.